Hey there, welcome to First Glance with Jody Vance. This is kind of a special edition, if you will. The first of what we hope will be a regular series here on First Glance is we welcome somebody who will be familiar when it comes to some of the subject matter, but the face will be new. The handsome face joining us on the screen is Leigh Hughes. He is an investor venture capitalist. Glad to have you here, Leigh.
Thanks, Jody.
You and I have been talking sort of off to the side on many of First Glance with Jody Vance conversations because you are involved with many of the companies that we have been interviewing for the last couple of months here as we've launched. Can you give us a little insight into who you are and what your background is?
Yeah, well, I'm a venture capitalist from Australia. Live in snowy Vancouver as of today, actually, which is lovely. I have done working with institutions and private equity in the past, typically, actually. Working with a lot of blue chip companies in Australia, predominantly mining, of course. Everyone thinks of mining companies when I think of Australia. High performers, which has been great. And I moved to Canada 3 years ago after spinning off a marketing agency that I actually had in Australia, which worked with a lot of public companies. And then towards the end, actually worked with a lot of startups and angel investment level businesses that have actually done quite well. And yeah, so for me, it's a great place to be being North America now with an extended network. Proximity to Europe is obviously a lot better as well. And, you know, the diverse nature of markets here in North America was why I like being here.
Let's tap into your insights into the market that you're seeing. I mean, 3 years in, you can certainly, as you've outlined there, seen the differences between Australia and North America and proximity to Europe. But what do you see now? None of us could ever have imagined seeing a global pandemic hit and the disruption that that's brought, but also some of the elevation for some industries at the same time. Give us sort of your lay of the land in general terms. And I'm going to ask you about some of your specific companies that you're involved with here.
Yeah, sure. Well, you hit the nail on the head, actually. I think the year of, let's call it the pandemic era that we're in at the moment has really forced significant disruption for multiple sectors. This disruptive tech buzzword is, it's real. We're in it now. We're seeing, multiple different verticals coming to the marketplace that, to be honest, I've sort of been looking at and covering at private equity level for probably the last 2 to 3 years. It's just that now that we've obviously been forced to disrupt the market with new technologies and focus on new verticals, it's allowed, like the biotech sector to all of a sudden get a bid again.
Yeah.
To all of a sudden get this serious advancement in knowledge from these amazing businesses that are obviously, here in Canada or wherever, healthcare, pharma. We're also aware of those verticals now, as investors from retail to institutional, just seeing bucket loads of money go into them. All of a sudden, people are aware of, Internet of all things, IoT, smart cities. You're seeing everything that is disruptive to me has been a really good thing that's come out of this pandemic era. Of course, we wouldn't like to ever wish that a pandemic would cause that to occur. But, on the other end of the pandemic, I can see a lot of businesses that were probably just little small postage stamps on white papers or whiteboards 3 years ago become big businesses.
And isn't that the truth? I mean, I would never, as a broadcaster, imagine I'd be sitting in my living room for a year interviewing people. And yet it has become so normal that we can talk anytime. We don't have to be, okay, how are you going to get to where I am, to get downtown, to get you wired up in front of lights, to sit, 3 feet from me instead of 2 meters from me. There's so much about it that has been disrupted. And yet, we're pulling out some positives here. And let's hit on a couple of the positives that are really obvious from the First Glance with Jody Vance audience perspective. I mean, Mountain Valley, for one. I mean, speaking with the team there and some of the technologies that have come forward, not to mention some of the pharmaceutical pieces of the puzzle, but also the delivery systems that could be life-altering, if not life-changing, for millions or billions of people.
Yeah, look, I mean, that's certainly one that's become a little bit of a gem in the Canadian market at the moment. My first conversations with the Mountain Valley MD team was late November when it was I think, a $15 million market cap and 8 or 9 cents, and was fortunate enough to spend, a few days with the team down there and see exactly what they were up to. I guess I happened to be in Toronto at the time, so being able to do direct due diligence with a company was a rarity last year. But look, the drug delivery biotech sector, vertical, let's just call it that, which is extremely wide, and if you look peripheral, it's even wider. I think are gonna, it's been amazing, right? I see, businesses like Exphyto, you're seeing businesses like Immunoprecise, you're seeing all these really amazing darlings, Canadian darlings, sort of get a global position or a global place in the marketplace right now.
And if people want to find out more about even just the couple of companies that we've mentioned there, they are in the First Glance with Jody Vance series. If you just look back through our YouTube links or here on EQUITY.GURU, look through those links to get more information. Because as I've stated so many times on this program, I am not a market expert, but when I can have conversations with real people, learning about their real endeavors that have such ethics behind them and such mission, like there's really this switch, I feel, and correct me if I'm wrong, Leigh, for sure. When it comes to investment, when it comes to people wanting to put their money, not just in a place that's going to make them money, they want to put it in a place that's going to make them money and maybe make the world a better place at the same time. Like that's something that I feel has really shifted in COVID-19. It's not just about the me, give me now. Everybody wants success, but there's more to it.
I completely agree. And, the way of doing due diligence, because that's kind of, how I've cut my craft, is, being fortunate enough actually to do due diligence for different funds, some institutions as completely independent, has been it's a long process. It involves typically getting on a plane. These days, no, it doesn't. We're not forced to have to do that. And, the beauty about it is investors clearly these days are getting access to so many different tools that we didn't have a year ago. New channels, new ways of getting information, access to, Jody Vance, access to, hedge fund managers, significant investors, venture capitalists, entrepreneurs. They're all being able to tell their story virtually and, and capture a great audience. And, look, we're all learning. I learn, through these companies that we're getting exposed to every single day, these new businesses, these new, like I like to call them, unicorns or hidden gems, whatever you want to call them. We literally are now getting face value with them pretty much in real time, nearly. It's scary. And it's great because it enables our investment decisions to become a lot more wiser, and we can probably buy into them and own them a little bit more too, and actually feel like we've got, a little bit of ownership in our investment again, which we probably didn't have before, because you're kind of sitting at that layer behind a bit of a wall that you don't really see what's behind that wall, but we're sort of seeing little bits more every now and then.
Aren't we though? And we're seeing a hunger for that as well. And that's really what sparked First Glance at Jody Vance in the beginning, was reaching out to the people who typically didn't invest in the market, felt it was just for people with expensive suits and pocket squares, which I like to say, there's nothing wrong with expensive suits or pocket squares, but you shouldn't have that as a requirement in order to invest. And that's where you come in.
The last time I wore a suit. So
I know, right? That's where you come in though, Leigh. I mean, you're accessible, you're knowledgeable, you're fearless, but you're also really savvy when it comes to vetting what is or is not a smart investment. I mean, not everything's a win. Not everything can be a win. That's not how it works. But how do people find you, follow you on Twitter? I mean, I got to follow you on Twitter.
That would be nice. Yeah, look.
How do I find you?
I really do like to use, I find LinkedIn is an amazing access to information, right? That LinkedIn platform to me is just, it's just a plethora of information. We're seeing channels like Discord. We're seeing, great Discord groups get built and set up now. Twitter's obviously the FinTwit, as they call them, community. It's expanding at a rapid pace. Yeah. Obviously we're starting to see some of this disruptive tech also become conduits between companies on the investment side and us as investors, clearly. And the great thing is too, it's been been a really interesting thing and quite a warming thing to see how quickly companies have been able to pivot to just, okay, we got to adapt now. We got to get access to our stakeholders in a new way, and most are doing it really, really well, I find. I've been, like I said, I've been investing and working with private equity and institutions for 3 to 5 years now at more of a, I guess you could say, further reach than Australasia. So the tyranny of distance factor is just a killer for the sector, being able to get around and in real time. But now that's kind of, it's different. And I find that being able to get access to new resources and tools to do the due diligence that's required on a business, and a sector, an investor base, is just a lot more at our fingertips, let's just say that.
What about, if I may, and again, I'm a novice when it comes to the markets piece, but in a news consumer perspective, which is my forte in news talk radio, when we're looking at markets, and we hear oftentimes, if you look at the New York Stock Exchange, it's moved beyond COVID-19. It's, markets are fill in the blank. When we're looking at markets around the globe and economies that have been hit unprecedentedly, like the level of pain on a financial level is yet to really be fully recognized. Yeah. I mean, that's safe to say, but how to sort of assess that without the expertise of someone like yourself who has literally been on this path for years and years. I guess what I'm getting at is you represent, Leigh, to me, the equivalent of how perhaps pre-COVID, we didn't go to the travel agent, we just booked online, where people maybe were like, we would just trade online because we kind of knew. But more and more, someone like yourself is a key to that real positive experience when it comes to investment. Am I right?
Yeah, it could be. I mean, look, I'm certainly surrounded. I certainly like to surround myself with what I consider best of breed. I like to call best of breed people. Experts, mentors, visionaries, CEOs, podcasters, journalists. I mean, the list goes on. I certainly, try and delineate as much of that noise as possible to be able to focus on a day to day. So I can only imagine as an investor, say an immature investor that's coming in fresh, it could be extremely noisy. And, wow, where do I go? Like, where's the first place I should go to get, on the right path or on the right track? I mean, as we all know, there's sometimes no better experience than just jumping in and getting things done. And obviously we learn from our mistakes, which is why I like to surround myself with, I like to call them mentors and visionaries, because, I just love learning from people that have been there and done that. Right. Yeah. So look, again, I just say, like, with some of these businesses that we've discussed, I mean, unearthing seriously undervalued businesses with amazing operators, with valuation gaps that can be filled to show value and obviously increase our balance sheet as investors, I find this world that we're in right now, no better time to do it, which to me is exciting. And if we're seeing now institutions and private equity firms even lower their risk profiles a little bit just to get some of the action here. A private equity fund I do stuff with in Europe, just in January we were doing our yearly hustle, like we like to call it, where due diligence advisors get in and we all sit and listen to what the prerequisites are for investments this year or divestments or whatever. And I mean, this year by far is, you're talking about a fund that would be happy with a 9 to 12% return a year, dropping their guard a little bit and looking for that 50 to 100% return possible on an investment. I mean, I haven't seen that before. So, I think it's a new world that we're living in. There's new educational instruments that we can learn from, access to information, new points of information, new technology, new resources that can enable all of that to happen. that's the world we're in, and I don't see that changing for anytime soon.
What I love about chatting with you, even when it's off camera and when we're discussing some of the companies that you've vetted and are involved with under the umbrella of Leigh Hughes, just if you're going, who's this guy again? Leigh Hughes is an investor, venture capitalist, and this is the first of what we hope will be a series of sort of tapping into the expertise you have, Leigh. And one of the things that really peaks for me in what you just said was finding the really undervalued companies. And that's what we're really trying to do at First Glance, is to sort of help not just the company get the investment piece that they deserve by telling their story, but also giving the opportunity to new or novice or perhaps moderate investors who are looking for that opportunity to put their money in a place for long-term investment, but to see before a company hits that sort of benchmark that they sit at for a bit and then fluctuate, but kind of be there on the curve as it's going up, as it were.
Yeah, and look, I typically myself personally have been taught a craft over many years, but have been able to put together a pretty rigid, let's call it a prerequisite list to enable it to that opportunity to potentially become a real one, and then obviously one that you take on and you grow and see it grow into hopefully be like a Mountain Valley MD, which is still such a small, a little bit of that story has been told to date. But I know I hope to think that I know when to say no to an opportunity as well, because we all like to, when markets are hot, we all like to jump into everything, and we maybe let that little bit of due diligence side of things slip a little bit.
Right.
Try to remain quite focused on that. But like I said again, Jody, I think if you surround yourself with quality people, you'd like to think that the decisions that you make fall into that quality bracket. And I certainly have a lot of high quality people and mentors and educators and just investors as well that I like to talk and have discussions with and meet on a regular basis to make sure that the portfolio is in the right check and the opportunities that we're looking at in the future are hopefully maybe even a little bit forward looking than most, right? Which is, think about a Mountain Valley MD, or think about an ex-Fido, or think about the best gaming company or the best whatever. Most of the time, these businesses haven't just been created in 2020. These guys have been around. These businesses have been around for some of them many years to get to this inflection point of growth. And sometimes as investors, we just become a little bit too impatient, and that's okay because some people are traders, some people are investors, some people are long, some people are short. But if you can create what your exit strategy going in looks like to an investment before you've gone into it, and stick to that, and you surround yourself, like I said, with quality and a pretty strict parameter for investing or trading, then you're going to put yourself in a pretty good position to do well, I feel.
So how do people get in touch with you or follow you or find out more about you, Leigh Hughes?
Twitter's a pretty good platform. LinkedIn is a great platform. I really love communicating with people on LinkedIn.
Is it just your name? Is it
just my name? Twitter as well, just my name. Have a really interesting Discord channel called Unicorn Capital Growth. I can share the link to that to you after this. But yeah, and listen, I think via email, by LinkedIn, which connects to email, I'm pretty on point there to be able to get in contact and back with people really regularly. So,
all right. If you're listening and not watching, it's Leigh Hughes. Leigh Hughes is where you will find our investor venture capitalist here on First Glance with Jody Vance. Hopefully, Leigh, we can do many of these, and you can let us tap in on those mentors and those stories and some of the keys to your strategy when it comes to navigating these interesting times. I appreciate your time today and look forward to next time.
Thanks, Jody. And I just want to say too, another place where you can go to get good information, obviously, is via EQUITY.GURU. Clearly.
Thank you very much. Clearly, EQUITY.GURU. It's where I live. Make it a great day.
Thanks, Jody. Appreciate it.